one of our absolute favorite guests. You can find him on The Volume, the Voch Lombardi Show, most days at 3 o'clock. Voch Lombardi joining us here on the Get Right. Voch, what's going on?
What's good, fellas? Shouts out to everybody listening. Shouts out to Boomer Jacks. Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, one thing I love about Voch is a true YouTube person.
He is.
So he hopped in on our YouTube 105 Through the Fan before in the first segment. So I know that you heard us talking about how this team compares to expectation coming into the season. Did you hear anything that you felt like you needed to combat? What were your opinions on that conversation?
Listen, man, this whole Cowboy thing is a roller coaster. I don't know what we're going to talk about this week because I really can't give you like previews of the Giants. Look, I was fully ready to come in here and just be on the internet all week and just terrorize Eagle fans, but we lost. So now I got to talk about the Danny DeVito cousin kid or whatever, right? So in real life, we all had a feel that this was going to go a certain way. Like Mike McCarthy lied to everybody, and some of y'all fell for it. They say we're going to run the football and we are going to be led by our defense. That is cool, but we are throwing the hell out the football. We can't run it, and our defense is giving up points. So now we got to figure this thing out on the fly. The good thing about it, though, and this ain't just me being cliche Voch, this is typically how the league works. It's not about who gets hot early. It's about who gets hot later. So it just seems to be that we're figuring this thing out slowly but surely. Shouts out to Mike McCarthy, man. He might be listening. He might not be listening, whatever. But the one thing that I'm just kind of disliking is when you listen to him, it's almost like you getting this vibe that he's saving all of the good stuff for the end of the season, right? He'll just say things like, hey, man, we haven't got to that package yet. Like, hey, we just haven't stumbled upon this certain look yet. I'm like, dog, when you play San Francisco and the Eagles, you need to pull that out right now. But maybe, towards the end of the season when we get that long stretch of evil games that we got to play, we got to go Seahawks, Eagles, Bills, Dolphins, and Lions. Maybe we'll get some of those good plays. And, hey, maybe going into the playoffs, we'll be a good weather team that know how to deal with tough games. But until then, we can't be good teams.
Completely unrelated. A scammer will always tell you that the benefit is coming, just hang along.
Yeah.
Completely unrelated to what we were talking about.
Exactly.
I just want you to understand that. That was just something I decided to say.
This could be you. We're going to be successful, and you could be a part of it, that whole thing. Yeah, I've been scammed before.
Voch, I'm going to keep this very simple for you. Hey, what's going on with the offensive line in the run game?
Let me tell you something, man. Just because you good at right guard don't mean you good at right tackle, dog. Just because you have a fantastic day at left tackle, that don't mean Chuma Doga is going to be good on the first drive. When you watch the film, I'm going to do this two different ways. I'm going to tell you what I say, then I'm going to tell you what your head coach says.
Okay.
All right.
What I say is when you watch film, the five of us have to be on one accord. I take that back. I apologize. The 6 to 7 of us, that's including, tight ends and running backs. I've seen plays where the front seven gets blocked perfectly, but Tony or Rico Dowdle run directly into the other team. Or, I've seen the left side be perfect, but Zach will get beat by somebody, or Terrence will get beat by somebody. It just seems to be that we haven't found this rhythm. And what your head coach says is that the only reason we're not that fantastic in the run game is that we don't have the attempts. Now, this is what made me chuckle real loud, because your head coach is also your play caller. Mm-hmm. So I feel like play caller, if you want to improve your run game based on what you're saying, you need more attempts. Why don't you call more attempts? But this is where Mike McCarthy's lying to you, because it don't just take more attempts. It takes better everything. It takes better running back. It takes better offensive line blocking. It takes a better scheme, right? And this is the case because instead of continuing to run the ball to try to fix the run game, we just say, we'll just throw the ball. We'll just throw it with Dak 40 times. You know what I'm saying? So that seems to be what I'm getting from this. I don't think they have an answer for the run game, but let's just keep throwing the football. But he just can't come out and say that. If he came out and said, national media go crazy with that. I think if you just ask me, though, I think a big part of the reason that we're not doing that great is we have pieces. And we can use these pieces many different ways. But the problem is with the Cowboys is that we don't know how to make CeeDee great. We don't know how to keep Jake Ferguson good, but then distribute everything else. We can only do one thing at a time. So what that means to me is Tony Pollard is stellar on outside runs and catching the football, but we may do that with him twice. Rico Dowdle is stellar, from from tackle to tackle, but we only give Rico Dowdle the ball 3 times and one gets called back from a Luke Schoonmaker hold. Or Hunter Lippy is fantastic in whatever in short, but we don't give it to him. So the Cowboys, in which I do give them credit for this, the offense has gotten better every single week. It's gone from absolutely prehistoric, Flintstone ridiculous to, okay, if we keep playing like this could be cool. But what the Cowboys have to figure out in this next, I don't know what, it's like 9 weeks now, 17 games messing me up. What we got to do over the next 7, 8, or 9 games is we got to figure out how to keep giving CeeDee the ball, how to get Ferguson 7, 8, 9 targets. Let's just say 8 targets, but then we got to get Brandon Cooks involved, and then we got to find a way to get Turpin involved. I love Michael Gallup to pieces, but some of his targets need to go to somebody else. And then this stable of running backs that you hyped up so much in the offseason, this bruising kid. Lipke, this Rico Dowdle that runs like his hair is on fire. We need to use those guys. But right now we're not using those guys, so we're not going to have a run game until we use those guys.
So it sounds like it's all Mike McCarthy's fault is what it sounds like.
Yeah, it's all Mike McCarthy's fault, man. Look, he at the top. Hey, he at the top. He not only is he at the top, but in terms of offensive pecking order, he's the first 2 dudes. He's the head coach and the dude that's calling the plays. So he gets twice the blame. Yes, it's his fault. But let me just give you enough, because I just want to give Mike McCarthy all the flowers in the world, because I think he's a great head coach. When he has an issue, if there's a problem going on in Cowboy land, he will fix the problem. Jason Garrett would just keep running up A-gap all day until we win. That wasn't going to do it. Mike McCarthy will fire his best friends. He will fire dudes he's been cool with for 40 years. I believe Mike McCarthy will fire himself, not from head coach, but from play calling. And whatever he sees working, I promise you, man, Mike McCarthy's going to look at it and be like, all right, let me just do some more of this. Because that's all he's done. So I got faith that he can fix it, but he got to see it first. So we'll see if he sees it first and then fix it.
We have seen himself fire himself from play calling. You remember that time when he was in Green Bay and then he gave away play calling duties and then he took it back and then he gave it away and then he took it back? Remember that?
Hey, Russ, just give it to me, Aaron. Just give it to me, Mike. I'll do it.
Listen, bro. I never said Mike McCarthy wasn't toxic and selfish. I just said what I've seen so far from him.
Okay, so within the Mike McCarthy sphere, as we have kind of settled into a theme here, okay, let's say that they figure out schematically what to do. What is there to be done about game management? Because it does feel like when it comes down, in situations where this Cowboys team is going to win games in the postseason, in those big games, you're going to need to do the right things in big moments. And thus far in his tenure, at least, we can at least talk about the ways that the last 2 seasons have ended, and then this past game, it feels like those decisions have been a little off. Does that feel like a fair assessment, or am I off there?
No, I mean that's fair, but I think what a lot of us don't understand, and many of us do understand, because there's some good people, but I think every coach got kind of got a problem with game management somehow. It's just that we have Mike McCarthy under this microscope. Listen, if we would have won the game, we wouldn't have a thing to say about Mike McCarthy's game management, but a false start here and a Terrence Steele getting whooped there, all of a sudden Mike McCarthy got bad game management, right? And look, as long as you win, all these small concerns, they just go out the window and it don't matter. I'll give you a perfect example. Cowboy fans remember this. Remember Mike Nolan was coaching? He was the DC, and he was in the booth, and Cowboy fans were saying, "Oh, Mike Nolan's in the booth. That's why we trash on defense." Well, Dan Quinn has been in the booth since he's been here, and nobody got a thing to say about Dan Quinn being in the booth, because we winning, because he's running this good defense. So Mike McCarthy just simply needs success. If we can just win these games, it's not like we can't win these games because we close. It's just that, boy, Terrence Green, Chaz Steele.
Wow.
Come on, man. And look, I love Terrence to pieces, man, because he's done some fantastic work. He's improved. Duke Bannyweather takes these broken offensive linemen and he fixes them and they come back as studs. But he had a terrible game at the worst possible time, man. And I just think if that play didn't exist and if the false start didn't exist, I think we're looking at a whole nother vibe this week, man. But we just got to learn how to beat those good teams. We got to learn how to finish. This is what I will say about the Eagles. I think we're the better team than the Eagles because we found every way to try to give away the game, and they still just barely beat us. Like, you would think we'd have got blown out by what happened, leaving 20 points on the board, leaving penalties and all this kind of stuff, right? But the difference is the Eagles just kind of know how to win. I don't even know if this is something that's tangible or like that can be measured. But the Eagles, they just, hey, we hang around in these games. We're not looking all that impressive, but we 8-1, whatever. The Cowboys got to learn how to do that non-tangible nonsense, right? Regardless of how we play, can we overcome whatever nonsense that we've done on the field so far and just pull out a win? The minute we learn how to do that, we'll be a better team, and we won't be thinking about this small stuff. We got 5 tough teams at the end of the season that's going to teach us how to do that, I believe.
Voch Lombardi of The Volume joining us here on the Get Right with Reggie KG here on your home of the Cowboys and Texas Rangers 105.3 The Fan. To that point then, as I don't know how much we'll learn about the Cowboys when they take on the Giants, who are just decimated right now, especially at the most important position in the sport at quarterback. But what did you learn from that Cowboys game against the Philadelphia Eagles that you feel like can be taken with you going forward for the rest of the season that can give maybe some fans some confidence about their ability to start winning some of those kinds of games when they need to now?
If Dak Prescott can do this 13 more times, we own to something. If Dak Prescott could just do whatever he's done the last 3 weeks, if he could just do that 13 more times, then we'll be on to something. I feel like you can change small things about your team, right? Like, hey, defense, can we not give up touchdowns on the first drive or something like that? You can fix that. Can we not give up big plays? Can we learn how to run the football? If it's dealing with linebackers, running backs, offensive line, defensive linemen, corner safeties, I feel like you can fix those things as the season goes on. But you live and die by your quarterback position. Now, if every other thing on your team was good, but your quarterback was trash, like the Jets or something like that, the Jets ain't going to win many games for you, right? But look at what the Cowboys are. The Cowboys are a team that's figuring this thing out. But if I can hang my hat on anybody, I know that if we can block it up front, if we could just not die up front, Ford can take us to the promised land. I know that for sure. And there's a lot of people that don't feel that way about Ford. But think about what's happened to Ford when he's in these situations, right? Whether it be his O-line ain't good or it's Cedric Wilson and Noah Brown, your wide receivers or something like that. You know, it's always something getting in the way of Dak's success, right? But if Dak is doing this thing that he's doing, right? If they say, oh, Dak, we don't want you to run, but he say, F y'all, I'm about to run anyway, and it just works. If Dak keeps doing this, I can hang my hat on that. Because at the end of the day, you know, even when we do get into those tough games, right, I just keep bringing that up. That is Dak versus Geno Smith. We know what Dak versus Jalen Hurts looks like, or Dak versus Josh Allen. Josh Allen's a fraud, by the way. Dak versus Tua. I'm going with my quarterback in those matchups. We just need the rest of the guys to catch up. I got faith that Dan is going to get that defense back to his old ways, and I ain't saying I got faith in Mike McCarthy, but I got more faith in Dak than anything. So, hey, man, I think we'll be fine, man. And that could just me being an optimistic Homer Cowboy fan, but it's a quarterback league. And the past, 3 weeks, your quarterback has been sensational. What you want me to say?
I do love that you just snuck in there that Josh Allen is a fraud. I love the spice.
You see, you heard that? You heard that?
The spice that you added. Just to have a little fun with it, open-ended prompt. Why is CeeDee Lamb him?
Well, and this is the funny part about it, right? I see a bunch of my media friends saying, hey, what's going on with this emergence of CeeDee Lamb? Man, CeeDee Lamb been him. We just throwing it to him. We're finally using CeeDee Lamb how we're supposed to use him. There should be no excuse why CeeDee Lamb should get 7 targets. If you look around the league, all you got to do is look at what the good teams are doing. Just find out what the good teams are doing, right? So when Cooper Kupp was healthy, like, look at what the Rams would do with him. And it's like almost every week Cooper Kupp will get double-digit targets. How do you think that's the case? Well, you just decide as a play call, let's get the ball to Cooper Kupp. So I don't think it's ridiculously strange that, hey, this wide receiver who's the best one on your team that we've been saying is him for a long time and he's whooping everybody in training camp, let's just get to the real game and get it to him 7 times. No, throw it at him 12 and he'll catch 11 and then see what happens. And CeeDee Lamb is him. He been him. Just throw it to him. Same for Cooks. I'm sure, like, look, Brandon Cooks ain't him, but he's at least he or they just throw it to him and see how he can be. You know what I'm saying? But whatever.
See how he can be. I love it, Voch. You bring it every single time. I appreciate you so much, my man.
Tell them where they can find you.
Hey, man, find me on The Volume on YouTube, all right? It's Colin Cowherd's network. They brought me over there to keep him accountable. And you can find me, Voch Lombardi, on YouTube and Twitter, VochLombardi. Appreciate y'all, fellas.
Appreciate you, Voch, for joining us, man, as always, man. Thank you. That's gonna live rent free in my head for the rest of the week, man.
See how much he can be. It feels like he remixed the U.S. Marines.
That's right.
Be all the he you can be. I love it. He was preaching. I love it.